Aloha, good morning Friday, and I trust everyone had a wonderful week and enjoyed our beautiful weather, and hopefully it'll follow us into the weekend. Anyway, we welcome back Jim Schmit, our architect, and thank you for coming here again today and talking to us.
Always a pleasure.
And, I always love to ask Jim, what's the new thing that people are asking you to do? And we were commenting over a saying here this morning saying, everything old is new again. And this is what our talk today is about. And Jim, tell us what style of home are you being requested to design these days?
Well, ironically, what they want now is mid-century modern.
Mid-century modern, okay.
And they're getting more specific. It used to be modern, and mostly it used to be traditional, but then it turned into modern, and now it's mid-century modern, which is a 70-year-old style of architecture that was originally right after World War II. Mm-hmm. The magazine of its day was Arts and Architecture magazine, and gorgeous. They sponsored a series of homes that were intended to be cheap to build, easy to build, fast to build, elegant little houses, which became called the case study houses. And they hired 6 or 8 of the most popular architects of the day. Neutra, Elwood, Ralph Rapson, ironically, who was the dean of the architectural school in Minnesota, where I did my first architectural studies. And these guys all built houses. Yes. The reason they were doing it was because there were 1 million men coming back from Europe after World War II that had been gone for quite a while and didn't have houses to live in. And they wanted houses, and they had GI Bill financing, and it was just like, it was perfect for them. And the first 6 houses were built in 1948, which is like 3 years after I was born. and they had them on display in California. These are all mostly in LA, some of them other farther away, but they got 350,000 visitors to these 6 houses instantly, and it just took off, and they started building them as fast as they could, and then after a few years of building them, the rich people discovered them, and a lot of Palm Springs houses got built in this style. Well, it's back again. Everything old, it's back again, and I'm getting lots of specific requests for mid-century modern, and I'm doing 3 or 4 of them right now. Oh, wow. That are specific to that, and it all leads to another thing that people want, which is they want economy of construction, but they don't want to lose the beauty of the designs. But not everybody can afford $500 or $600 a foot, and we think we could do these for $300, $350 a foot. Wow. Significant savings. Yes. And they also lend themselves very well to prefab. And we're getting a lot of these houses prefabbed. And actually, as far back as Bali Lofts, my project out in Waikiki, we were doing a modular prefab, and that all falls into this mid-century modern one. The first picture we've got there.
I'll just put the pictures up, Jim.
Okay, this first picture is actually previous to the mid-century modern. This was in 1939. Wow. That Mies van der Rohe did the Barcelona Pavilion for the World's Fair, and that was starkly modern, still is today, and just a beautiful, beautiful structure. It's not a house, but it lended itself to that style of design, and all of the guys who were building in the 50s grew up learning about the Barcelona Pavilion. Interesting. And it's one of those houses that every architect knows, and it started off from that. You want to go to the next one? We'll see what it is. Okay. We don't really know what order they're in, so I'll just have to look at them and tell you what they are.
Okay, there.
There we go. Okay, so that's a Neutra house, and it's very typical of mid-century modern. LA.
Oh, LA. Okay.
Yeah. And it's got all the, I'm sorry, that's Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
Yeah, that one's Palm Springs. As a matter of fact, I went to that house.
Yeah.
In a trip I took to Palm Springs just to see these houses. And there's a couple of other pictures of the same one. This was the Kaufman House. Kaufman was the guy who hired Frank Lloyd Wright to do Falling Water. Again, that was in 1939, 1940.
So Jim, when I look at this photo, I see a modern house with, very rich exterior finishings.
Yep.
But you're telling me the design is a bit different, the mid-century to the modern. Can you explain some of the things which are a little different, modern versus mid-century?
Okay, mid-century came first.
Mid-century came first.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the time, they were modern.
Got it.
So this was
Okay.
modern architecture and
Okay.
radically different than modern today, in the sense of modern today is kind of average. A lot of people are building modern houses,
Okay.
in Hawaii less than in the mainland, because we're always
Yeah.
tailing behind the trends, you might say. But
Yes.
this being in Palm Springs is not designed for economy. That's why you're seeing the travertine floors and the floor to
Yes.
ceiling glass.
Yeah.
That's all again derived from the case study houses, but a little bit later.
Okay.
Not a lot later. It probably, some of these houses are as late as the 60s instead of the 50s. That's the same house from the opposite side,
Beautiful.
Kaufman House.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And he was a real patron of the arts. I mean, he built these houses for the art. He lived in them, as occasionally, but it was a good symbol for the rest of the world to kind of follow close up of that same house.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and you see the sidewalk, I mean, the concrete paving.
Yeah.
We're doing that. We've been doing that here for quite a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that concrete pavement also, you've had clients put grass between the
Exactly,
pavement. It's
exactly.
fabulous.
Now that's a modern, mid-century modern house. You didn't see a lot of wood soffits in the mid-century modern houses because that would have been relatively expensive.
Okay.
Still is relatively expensive.
Okay.
That's an original. Also, that's another one of the Palm Springs houses.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're very simple, and they're very what should I say? They're spacious and open to the outside, without a real serious volume of space. The Kaufman House that we looked at a couple steps back had more of a volume inside, and for myself, I take mid-century modern and create a volume with a secondary roof above the first roof, and that's been working out really well for me. This is actually also a Mies van der Rohe house in Illinois. It's called the Farnsworth House, and again, floor to ceiling windows. Now those are, I think, 10-foot high windows.
Wow.
And it's all glass. I think the next picture is an exterior of it. Yeah, that's the exterior of it.
Oh, neat.
And it's on a couple acres of land. And the woman who built this house lived in it without curtains for quite a few years until it became famous. And then, was I putting it in front of it?
You were getting so excited. I thought you were going to hit me with it.
It's the Italian.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, and then one morning she got up and there were like 12 people in her yard looking at the house.
Yeah.
And so she put those curtains in, and the curtains are actually beautiful. They go all the way around the house, and they're floor to ceiling, and it's really a dramatic house for something that was designed and built in 1939.
I had a client who has a modern home, and with their glass windows, for some of the privacy, what they did is they used this stenciling. They used the company here in town, and they had it designed where it was stenciled, so it didn't have a heaviness of a drape or anything, and it still had the privacy.
Yeah, right.
And they even used it in the shower area.
Yes, I know those houses.
Yeah, so
We do that a lot, and you could buy that as a film also.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes. Fabulous. And what have we got here? So
interior of that same house.
Interior.
And the furniture back in the late 30s and early 40s, architects designed the furniture for their houses, and these are houses that Mies van der Rohe designed, and they're famous in their own right. You go to Design Within Reach, there's dozens of Mies van der Rohe designed furniture.
Absolutely, yes.
The black and white pictures are taken by a very famous photographer, Julius Schulman, and his books are out. of and he loved the mid-century modern houses because they photographed well in black and white, and it was kind of trendy at the time to be doing this type of photography.
Very, very nice.
And now there's the occasional house has the volume of space like this where there's sloping roofs.
Yes.
But it's much less common.
Okay.
But it's still today, that could be a house today.
Absolutely.
Another view of that, one of those houses. And what they used to do back then also was they put people in their pictures. Nowadays, a lot of the houses that you see pictures of online have no people in them.
That's true. Yeah.
And he was famous for having, and when you look at these people, the women are dressed in 50s styles with 50 styles hairdos.
Yep.
And it's really time travel.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, putting people in the pictures is, I think it adds a little more emotion in the home and everything, especially when you're marketing houses. I know years ago we had a model next to the swimming pool, and I mean, I've done some crazy things like that before, and I've noticed I noticed somebody the other day with a video selling their home, having a model shoot, and they had a model in the house shooting the model to show selling the house. So, people get really creative. So, if somebody is thinking, hey, I really want a mid-century home, could I turn my home into a mid-century home? How does somebody start?
You definitely can. And actually,
you definitely can.
Many of the ones that I'm doing now are 2-story houses that have concrete lower floors and T&G wood upper floors. And, and the concrete foundation walls give you a good basis, and it's pretty easy to put a 1-story new house on top of that.
Yes.
We're even doing we've done a couple of them that are finished where we put the 3rd floor on top of the 2-story house.
Oh, wow.
And that usually works on a downsloping lot.
Downsloping lot. Okay.
But it's very easy. It's we're doing a lot of steel, like those are steel beams.
Yes.
And we're doing a lot of steel for big spans and for
nice.
What they didn't have to worry about back then too much was the wind forces, sideways wind forces. And we've got a lot of high wind areas, and all of our hillside homes have high wind.
Yeah.
And so we're using steel to create that resistance to the wind.
Okay.
Which is a pretty economical way to do it. And it's also, again, it maximizes your views, it minimizes the sense of structure.
And, it's really important. I know part of our business, I've mentioned this before, is knowing the right people to work with. I'm sure, Jim, there's contractors out there that are better contractors than others for building this style of home. Yeah. I personally know I have a lot of windows in my house. I found a great window cleaner.
that's
so that was huge. Yeah. I have a huge resource now for my windows. I'm so excited. But I wanted to thank you for coming today and talking about this. It's always, I love how passionate you are. And so much history behind things. It's fabulous. And then, of course, Marianne has her photos and she did it in the spirit of Halloween colors and nature, oranges and all the Halloween. And I mean, look at this, it's gorgeous. Your Halloween bird. Halloween sky. With there you go. And then I've got a spooky tree. Yeah. Well, have a great Halloween this weekend. Stay safe and enjoy, the children going out and about. And now we can actually go out a lot more actually. That's right. So, but be safe, be careful, and much mahalo for joining us today. Aloha.
Thank you very much, Caron.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.